Alright y'all, today I'll be showing you how to make the easiest outdoor table ever for under $120. The first thing we're going to do is cut down all of our 2x4s and our 2x6s down to size. For this project, we are going to be using some scrap wood as spacers, 2 3.5-inch pieces and 2 12.5-inch pieces, and also a 3/4 inch piece of MDF. We're going to start by assembling the legs. Each leg will use 4 pieces. Each leg piece is going to be 24.5 inches long, and we're going to go ahead and use Titebond glue to secure the legs together. We're going to have one piece at the top connecting the 2 side legs. Be sure to square them up and use the 3/4 inch MDF on the bottom to give you an offset. After the glue is applied, you can go ahead and use 2.5-inch exterior screws to clamp the legs together. Now we're going to use our small spacer to go ahead and indent our last leg piece. This is going to be at the bottom of our table leg. Build 2 of these total. Now that our 2 leg pieces are done, we're going to go ahead and assemble our side aprons. These are going to be 103.5 inches each. Attach these long side pieces using our Titebond wood glue and also screws. Now let's get that table flipped over and move on to installing our bottom stretcher. The bottom stretcher should be cut at 108 inches, and you should have about a 3/4 overhang at each end. You'll install it using wood glue and also screws. Even though the glue joint is actually stronger than the wood, I am going to use screws to keep the board in place at least until the glue dries. After the bottom stretcher is installed, we're going to attach the 23.5-inch support piece to the center top of the table. This piece will add extra support for the 2x6 tabletop pieces that we're going to install later. After we have our base built, it's time to install our 2x6 top board pieces. First, we're going to make sure we have our wood glue in place before we set any of the boards. I always like to go ahead and do a dry run of my wood placement also, just to make sure that there's an even amount of overhang on each of the 4 sides. Titebond wood glue is actually rated for indirect food contact, so I'm not worried about using it for a tabletop at all. Not all of our 2x6 top pieces were perfectly straight, so we did have to use a clamp to lessen the gap in between them, or else Titebond wood glue would be strong enough to stand on its own. But since I don't have clamps that will still work with the overhang parts, I'm going to have to use wood screws while the boards dry. After your tabletop boards are installed, it's time to go ahead and use stainable wood filler in all of your screw holes. Once the wood filler is dry, you can go ahead and sand the entire tabletop down with 220 grit sandpaper. After it's all sanded down, use a dry tack cloth to remove any dust and debris before we get to the fun part, staining. For this table, I used Minwax Special Walnut because it's that nice, dark, rich color that I love so much. Now, this is totally up to preference, but I like to leave the stain on for a little bit before I wipe any off so that it soaks in and I get that rich color. After 2 coats of stain, I let it dry and then used an outdoor spar urethane. This is going to keep your table looking fresh while it's used in the outdoors. You don't have to worry about your wood glue because Titebond is rated for the outdoors already. I like to give every piece of furniture that I'm using outdoors 2 coats of the urethane, just to make sure that it's fresh and mildew free. Y'all, is this not the most perfect outdoor table you've ever seen? It'll be perfect for family game nights, parties, and all kinds of special occasions. And thanks to Titebond wood glue, I know it'll last for a very, very long time. Thanks so much for watching this project, and I'll see you next time on Home Talk.